The UK is no longer able to provide in-person consular assistance in Ukraine. The UK is no longer able to provide in-person consular assistance to British people in Ukraine, according to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO. The UK government retains a diplomatic presence in Ukraine, but we can no longer provide consular assistance in person due to the deteriorating security situation, the FCDO said in updated travel advice published Monday. British nationals needing consular assistance have now been instructed to call a 24-hour helpline or avail full consular services in countries neighbouring Ukraine. British nationals have also been advised to remain vigilant if they decide to remain in Ukraine throughout potential combat operations and to keep their departure plans under constant review. A secret airfield in Eastern Europe is home to a multinational effort to send weapons to Ukraine. The United States Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley went last week to an undisclosed airfield near the Ukrainian border that has become a hub for shipping weapons, a senior Defense Department official said, seeing firsthand the multinational effort to get weapons into Ukraine amid Russia's unprovoked invasion. While at the airfield, Milley met with troops and personnel and examined the shipment activity, the official said Friday. The site has become a beehive of activity in recent days, going from a handful of flights each day to as many as 17, the field's maximum capacity. The airport's location remains a secret to protect the shipments of weapons, including anti-armor missiles, into Ukraine. The Russian military has not targeted these shipments once they enter Ukraine, the official said, but there is some concern Russia could begin targeting the deliveries as its assault advances. The US and other NATO members have so far sent Ukraine 17,000 anti-tank missiles and 2,000 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, a senior US official told CNN. Since even before Russia's invasion began late last month, the skies above Europe have been filled with military cargo aircraft of the US and others, particularly C-17s, the backbone of the US airlift fleet. The flights have been repositioning troops along NATO's eastern flank, but also moving weapons to the transfer points where they can be delivered to Ukraine. The pace of the flights has only increased. Since Russia's invasion began, 14 countries have sent security assistance to Ukraine, the official said, some of whom had rarely sent such substantial equipment before. The vast majority of a $350 million U.S. security assistance package has already been delivered to Ukraine, according to the official, only 1 week after it was officially approved by the White House. Once in possession of the weapons, the Ukrainians have used them to slow and stall Russian assaults in different parts of Ukraine. What you need to know about the situation in Ukraine today. The human toll of the invasion of Ukraine continues to mount as Russian forces upped their bombardment of civilian areas and infrastructure over the weekend. As conditions worsened in a number of key Ukrainian cities, the United Nations said more than 1.5 million people have fled the country so far. Here's the latest: capital bombarded. There has been heavy fighting early Monday in a broad area from the north to the west of Kyiv, according to Ukrainian officials and social media content. Russian forces appear to have gone on the offensive in several areas to push towards the Ukrainian capital. Video geolocated by CNN on Monday shows Russian tanks taking up positions in a densely populated area just west of Kyiv. Southern assault wears on. Russian troops continued an offensive towards the strategic port city of Mykolaiv Monday morning, with officials warning residents to stay in their shelters. The warning of an assault came hours after Mykolaiv Mayor Oleg Senkovich said the city had been hit by Russian missiles at dawn. CNN saw Sunday evidence that cluster munitions had landed near civilian areas, and an official at a Mykolaiv hospital told CNN that 1 person had been killed and 3 injured in the shelling. A city under siege. Fears are mounting for civilians trapped in the besieged southern Ukrainian cities of Mariupol and Volnovakha, as the onslaught from Russian forces continues. One man, who escaped from Volnovakha 2 days ago, told CNN about the conditions in parts of the city, where he spent days hiding in a basement. People are there for 11 days now. Some got out, but around 450 are still there, he told CNN, adding that he has had no communication with the people since he left, and they are still there as far as he knows. Almost all of Russia's proposed routes out of Ukraine go to Russia or Belarus. Ukraine has slammed Russia's unilateral announcement of evacuation routes for civilians trying to escape the conflict. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk described the Russian proposal as unacceptable, particularly as all but one of the corridors leads to Russia or close ally Belarus. Meanwhile, an official with one humanitarian organization described the announcement as cynical as well as impractical, without any preparation. Civilian death toll. More than 360 civilians have been killed in Ukraine since Russia's invasion began on February 24, the UN said in a statement Sunday. So far, 1,123 civilians have been wounded, including 364 killed and 759 injured, the statement said, while acknowledging that the real figures are likely considerably higher. CNN cannot independently verify the casualty numbers. EU expects 5 million refugees. The European Union needs to prepare for 5 million refugees from Ukraine, the EU's High Representative Josep Borrell said Monday. More than 1.5 million people have already crossed from Ukraine into neighboring countries, UN Refugee Agency Commissioner Filippo Grandi said Sunday, describing the situation as the fastest-growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. Military power. Russia has fired a total of 600 missiles since the invasion of Ukraine began, a senior U.S. defense official said, and Russia has committed approximately 95% of its amassed combat power inside Ukraine. NATO sends missiles. The US and other NATO members have so far sent Ukraine 17,000 anti-tank missiles and 2,000 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, a senior US official told CNN. NATO is also looking at more permanent deployment in the Baltics, said US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. More talks. Ukraine and Russia are scheduled to hold a third round of talks Monday at 4 p.m. Ukraine time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak tweeted. Ukraine's EU membership will be discussed in coming days, European Council president says. From CNN's James Frater and Sarah Dean in London. Ukraine's request for European Union membership will be discussed in the coming days, European Council President Charles Michel said in a tweet Monday. The EU stands firmly by Ukraine's side in efforts to alleviate humanitarian suffering inflicted by Russia's aggression and ensure nuclear safety, Michel added. The EU's solidarity, friendship and unprecedented assistance for Ukraine are unwavering. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky also tweeted about his call with Michel. Discussed the threat to nuclear facilities, shelling of civilian and critical infrastructure. We have to stop this. Raised the issue of Ukraine's membership in the EU. The people of Ukraine deserve this. Stop Russia. Russian Defense Ministry and UN officials held meeting on humanitarian situation in Ukraine. From CNN's Sarah Dean in London. Officials from the Russian Ministry of Defense, MOD, held a meeting in Moscow with representatives from the United Nations to discuss the situation in Ukraine Monday. The formula of interaction for solving humanitarian problems on the territory of Ukraine, in the DPR and in the LPR was discussed, a statement from the Russian MOD said without providing further details. It comes after Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres held a phone call, the MOD said. Guterres tweeted Sunday, "It is absolutely essential to establish a pause in the fighting in Ukraine to allow for the safe passage of civilians from Mariupol, Kharkiv and Sumy, as well as all other places caught in conflict, and to ensure life-saving humanitarian supplies can move in for those who remain." Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov to meet Ukrainian counterpart Kuleba on Thursday, says Turkey. From CNN's Aysel Sarıuçay and Jumana Karadja in Istanbul. The foreign ministers of Russia and Ukraine will meet in Turkey on Thursday, according to the Turkish foreign minister. In a televised statement, Mevlut Cavusoglu said he will also be attending the meeting in Antalya between Sergei Lavrov and Dmytro Kuleba. Upon President Erdogan's initiatives and our intensive diplomatic efforts, Foreign Ministers Sergei Lavrov of Russia and Dmytro Kuleba of Ukraine have decided to meet with my participation on the margins of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum, Cavusoglu tweeted. CNN has contacted the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry for confirmation. Cavusoglu said both Lavrov and Kuleba confirmed their participation. The Antalya Diplomacy Forum is an annual event, and before Russia invaded Ukraine, the list of attendees included NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg and the European Union's foreign policy chief Josep Borrell.